What's up, fellow geeks and horror fans, and welcome back to another episode of Horror Stew. I'm, of course, your host of the show, Ike Isaacs, and I hope everybody's doing great out there. Hope everybody's been liking the content so far, and I want to start off saying, of course, thank you, everybody, for continuing to support the channel, and if you haven't already, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button, give us a like, go to Twitter and Facebook, and follow us there, and all those links and everything else will be in the description, and also in the end of the episode, of course, I'll have that at the end to kind of let you know where you can go to like us and find us and everything else. So today we're going to be talking about yet another amazing horror series, and another what I would call an underrated horror film. So if you haven't seen this film, it's really great. Such a fantastic film, such a great character, such a wonderful antagonist or protagonist, however you want to see it, to a horror series. And honestly, he's a little bit of an up-and-comer in my opinion, because he had some pretty, I would say, solid origins, some really great stuff that he started with, and he's only going to get better. Like fine wine, aging, it's what we're going to look for here. So today we are talking about the film The Terrifier. So The Terrifier. So if you folks have never seen The Terrifier, you're going to want to know who the villain is, or the protagonist, or however you want to view it. Basically the main character of the Terrifier series, and that is going to be none other than Art the Clown. So Art the Clown, super freaky. I mean, white and black face paint, the whole clown get up, well, clownish get up. Honestly, a little more like a mime in a way. Just the horrifying features that he possesses, and it's just, honestly, it is terrifying. It's one of the few really creepy monsters or evil bad guys that I've seen in a long time in modern film. So Art the Clown is the main protagonist of The Terrifier. So The Terrifier is I would say is probably the main movie in this case, because it's all about Art the Clown, and it's all about what he wants to do. But as always, I like to also talk about the background of these characters, other movies that they've been in, and basically where they've come from. And, I would venture to guess that some people have seen The Terrifier, but they may not know where Art the Clown came from. So to sum it up, Art the Clown started in short films. There were two specific short films. There was one in 2008 called The Ninth Circle. It's actually really hard to find online, but I'll tell you where you can find it here in just a second. The other one was a 2011 short film called The Terrifier. So the 2011 short film is not the film that I was referencing to previously, just so that we're clear. The film that I basically am basing this off of is the most recent film, which was in 2016. And I would say it's the main title for Art the Clown specifically, but it's an actual full motion picture rather than just a short film or a compilation of some sort. But yeah, so the Terrifier, in this case, Art the Clown, started off in the Ninth Circle, and then, of course, the Terrifier short that I mentioned in 2011. And then, of course, the actual feature film debut of Art the Clown, because he wasn't a film prior to The Terrifier. So, obviously, just that we're on the same page, you have the 2016 Terrifier, you have the 2011 short film Terrifier, and you also have the 2008 short film The Ninth Circle. So the Ninth Circle and the concept of that was actually developed and then included in an anthology film called All Hallows Eve, and this was in 2013. So it actually incorporates both of the shorts. So both the Terrifier and the Ninth Gate were actually the Ninth Circle were included in the All Hallows Eve film. So it's actually really interesting. So the All Hallows Eve was more than just those two, of course. It has additional content with it. It has a lot of different stories. Most of them include Art the Clown, if not all of them, if I'm not mistaken. And, of course, that film was an anthology-type series, different stories compiled into one. And honestly, it's really, really quite good. As far as anthology films goes, I love anthology films. I've always had a place in my heart for cheesy B-rated anthology films, and that actually may be something we talk about in a future episode, but specifically All Hallows Eve actually incorporated the two short films as well as some new stuff for Art the Clown. Art the Clown, that obviously is, I would say it's kind of like the developmental, and it's actually two different actors. The 2013 movie All Hallows Eve versus the 2016 Terrifier movie are actually two different actors. So you actually get to see a little bit of a performance development in a way. So you had the guy that played the Terrifier, or I'm sorry, Art the Clown in the two short films, and then in All Hallows Eve, and then you had somebody else who played him in the actual Terrifier feature film in 2016. That being said, All Hallows Eve, I'll kind of give a brief rating in my opinion, and I won't give too many spoilers about this. We are approaching the Halloween season, so really I would suggest you go watch that, get in the spirit of Halloween. But All Hallows Eve, it's a solid 7 out of 10 in my opinion. There are some things that it could have done better, but there are some pretty, in my opinion, really interesting kills in the movie. You know, obviously the best part about a horror movie is to see how creative they get. So it was really interesting to see where they went with that, how they portrayed the Art the Clown character, and how they really pushed the fact that he is like sort of not necessarily human. He might be a little something extra. Maybe he is paranormal or supernatural in a way. So definitely it's a solid 7 out of 10. It could have done better, but the things that they could have done better would come later in a future film. So for All Hallows Eve, I won't go too much into detail, but I will let you know that it is a fantastic film. It is, of course, rated R. It is a little gory at times, a little spooky, and honestly really kind of morbid and dark, but it has a very interesting formula, very VHS-esque, in the form that these are already filmed. They're actually VHS tapes that are being played that are showing these incidents involving Art the Clown and his subsequent victims. So I'll leave that as it is, but All Hallows Eve, highly recommend it. It's such a good film. It's on Prime Video if you want to go check it out. So if you have an Amazon Prime membership, you can actually see it on there for free. Well, free. And yes, so 100% would recommend that. And of course, if you want to seek out the short films and watch them as they were, you can find them on the internet somewhere. I had a really hard time finding the Ninth Circle, but the Terrifier short film, you can find it fairly easily. But they are both included in the All Hallows Eve film. So keep an eye out for that. And if you want to watch it, go to Amazon. And Amazon, if you want to sponsor me. But anyways, so then I guess that leads us on to our final subsection of the video, which is talking about the Terrifier. So the Terrifier, in my opinion, is the 2016 feature-length film. In my opinion, is probably one of the best modern horror movies of the last, I would say, decade. The Terrifier, really, it encompasses a lot of things. And here's the worst part about it, is that I really didn't know anything about the Terrifier going into it. I'd never seen All Hallows Eve, never seen the short films. And that's kind of unlike me. If you know me, like when I watch horror films, I get wind of it and I kind of start from the beginning. But the worst part about this was that I really had not heard of the Terrifier. The Terrifier was sort of for me at least, it seemed like it was kind of not necessarily underground, but it really seemed like there was a very small niche of who the fans of that film were. People who saw All Hallows Eve. And the worst part was that there really wasn't a lot of what I would call mainstream advertising or marketing of that Terrifier film. Obviously, I would assume this was probably due to budget constraints. So that was kind of the really real tragedy of it, was that I had never seen the Terrifier, and then I went and watched it actually earlier this year, like in January or December of 2019, I think. So it was one of those things where I was honestly a little upset with myself that I hadn't heard of it, because I watched it and I was like, holy shit, this is really good. Obviously, pardon the French there, but it was really good. And it was very well put together. The cinematics were great. The kills, oh my God, the kills were insane. And so, for any horror film, you want these really creative and inventive ways that, these protagonists die in the film and whatnot. And that's the Terrifier really provided what I would say is a excess of creativity when it comes to that subject. So what I said to myself was that I was really upset with myself that I had not seen the movie, that I had never seen Art the Clown before, and I was like, he is legitimately terrifying. What in the world? So I watched The Terrifier. The Terrifier, in my opinion, is one of the few films that I will give a 10 out of 10, okay? I can say good things about every movie that I watch. I can find something good, something positive, but I would put The Terrifier as probably one of my top 5 all-time favorite horror movies, and it is a solid 10 out of 10. And the reason I do that, and I don't do this lightly, so the reason I give it a 10 out of 10 is because despite its potential budget constraints, it still produces such a quality film that it honestly is not noticeable to me if there was a smaller budget, which I would imagine there was. And it doesn't bother me because the film itself was so great. Not to mention that, the legacy behind that film. There were 2 short films in the earlier 2010s / late 2000s that basically launched it into its own film series, which was the All Hallows Eve. But then All Hallows Eve plus those short films then projected it into another ring, which was the Terrifier feature-length film. So, in my opinion, it's a 10 out of 10 because of that. Basically, the movie started out from very humble origins with these short films that got turned into an anthology that then got turned into a feature-length film, which was, in my opinion, one of the most quality, and I will say it is more of a B film in a way, because it does kind of have some of those more B film tropes, but it is a B film with an A film heart, is what I'm kind of going to say here. Obviously, I've heard a lot of different opinions about The Terrifier. A lot of people don't like The Terrifier because of how violent it is, or they don't like The Terrifier because a lot of people think that it's the same old movie tropes. But if you really watch it and you really kind of dissect it a little bit, it's very unique in its methodology. Not very often do you find a movie villain that has no reason to be doing what they're doing. And Art the Clown is that movie villain. Art the Clown has no reason to be killing these people. There's absolutely no reason. And the only reason he has is because he wants to. So this is kind of why, in my opinion, The Dark Knight, for instance, is one of the best superhero movies, because it has a villain that truthfully has no reason to be a villain. Or I guess you could say the villain that we don't know has a reason, because obviously in subsequent years we've gotten, for instance, Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker, which obviously that's a whole nother story altogether. But anytime you have a villain that honestly has no reason to be doing what they're doing, because Michael Myers had a reason, well, depending on the series, his reason originally was that he was just crazy. He got put into a mental institution because he was crazy and killed his older sister. And then when he got out, he went after Laurie Strode, right? Or if you watch some of the later films, you know that there's some curse that was put on and makes him like an undead, behemoth that just kills and kills and kills. Or if you watch the Rob Zombie films, you see that he was physically and emotionally abused and he was bullied and everything else. And so it really just depends on what series you're looking at, but he has reasons. Freddy Krueger has reasons. Jason Voorhees has reasons. Let's see. Leatherface has his reasons. And not to say that they're good reasons, but if there's a motivation, there is sometimes the ability to understand. But with the Terrifier, with Art the Clown, there is no motivation outside of he just wants to do it. And so I really recommend watching it if you've not watched it yet. I believe it's on Netflix. Don't quote me on that, please. And I know a lot of people don't like Netflix, and there's a lot of backlash with Netflix right now. So you should also be able to find it like on Amazon Prime, or if you have a video store near you. I don't think that there are a lot of those around anymore, but if you don't want to watch on Netflix, you can go to Amazon. I know they have it as well. But quite frankly, The Terrifier is one of those films that I think is really going to put you in the Halloween spirit. It's going to get you really spooked, and it's going to make you really excited for Terrifier 2. So there's actually, I believe there's a trailer put out for Terrifier 2 earlier this year, and it looks like Terrifier 2 is set to come out in 2021, if I'm not mistaken. So, so you have a little bit of time to to watch the other films is what I'm getting at. The Terrifier 2 should be out in 2021, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that either. But 2021, we should see that movie rolling out. So you have some time between now and then to actually go back and watch The Terrifier. And I would also recommend watching All Hallows Eve. All Hallows Eve doesn't really connect in any particular way to Terrifier, except for it kind of develops the character of Art the Clown a little bit. But watching the first Terrifier will prepare you for the second Terrifier, which is going to be terrifying. And I think I've said the word Terrifier / terrifying at least 100 times. So that's what I would recommend is go back, watch that, get ready for the next one. But honestly, Terrifier is a 10 out of 10 for me. Super underrated. I really had never heard of it until I watched it, and I just happened to come across it. And when I came across it, I was completely blown away by it. It had a lot of, honestly, just had a lot of character in a way, had a lot of charm. It does play up on some, typical movie tropes and everything else, but I really think that it's a quality film that I think that the fans of Horror Stew would enjoy, because it is truly a horror film. So that is my official review of the Terrifier, and that's also my kind of little bit of a backstory or origin story of Art the Clown, and hopefully we'll learn a little bit more on the Terrifier too, because Art the Clown's sort of a I think in the All Hallows Eve they kind of allude to him being demonic or evil in nature. He's not necessarily a person per se, I don't think, but I think hopefully in Terrifier 2 we'll get some a little more clarification on that, and maybe some more details on the origins of Art the Clown, and maybe get a little more in depth with that, because that would be nice to kind of not necessarily put a name to a face or to give him motivation, but basically just to know, because one of the scariest things about horror films, in my opinion, is knowing where the villain came from, and knowing that, obviously Art the Clown may be the exception to this, but knowing where the villain came from, being able to kind of put yourself in that position and say, okay, they came from this point, and now they're here. So that kind of makes it more terrifying, because sometimes it can be real. Obviously, Art the Clown, if he's demonic, obviously people, theologically speaking, may agree or disagree with the concept of a demon, but irregardless, it is super scary, super amazing, and I'm super excited for the Terrifier 2. But this is going to be my first in this series, a 10 out of 10 on a horror film. So highly recommend it. Check it out. And then, like I said, Terrifier 2 is coming out in 2021. That being said, we're going to end it there. So for right now, folks, we're getting into the holiday spirit. If you want to see anything special for the Spooktober, let us know. But for right now, I want to say thank you for watching, of course. And as always, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, and keep on growing.